Mauri, I spent my life to give the best education to my kids, to give all the gift to my wife, the best cars, the best everything. And then she left me because I was never home. Point is, they are very good, or in general, men, we are very good on faking it, on having this kind of mask that does not want to show the truth, what is happening within.
I'm delighted today to be joined by Maurizio, who is the founder of
MyMasterMan.
Fantastic. So Maurizio, obviously you've had a great journey from the talks we've had before filming. So could you tell people a little bit about your story and how you actually came to Malaysia, how you founded your company and why you did it, basically?
Okay, first of all, thank you very much, Adam, for having me. I'm really excited for this opportunity. My name is Maurizio, as you said, but everybody call me Mauri. Born and raised in Italy. And 2019, back then, for many years, I've been working in the luxury fashion industry. First for Fendi, then I moved into Prada, and then into Jimmy Choo. And I had this opportunity by a very proactive entrepreneur from Switzerland. He was going to open a new brand here in Malaysia. Actually, Malaysia was more for the APAC area. And I got the offer to become the brand manager of it due to my experience. So I made this choice. I was just ended up a relationship with my former girlfriends. I sold everything and then moved to Malaysia. I had really no idea and no expectations about Malaysia. I had a bit of an understanding of Southeast Asia because in my younger age, I was backpacking through Thailand and Cambodia. So I had a bit of an idea. But once I came to Malaysia, since the day number one, so back in 2019, I was amazed by this beautiful city, Kuala Lumpur, the diversity of the community. And I felt immediately at home. I was by myself, literally by myself, because while we move, I spent the first year doing documents for the visa, and I was dealing mainly with locals, but I was by myself besides some Zoom call with my colleagues back in Europe. And that was quite hard, to be honest. It was quite hard because even though I'm a very extrovert person, I have no problem really to jump in a crowd and start to shake hands But the beginning was a bit of solitude. Then I decided to put myself out and I started to go out. I love rugby, so to watch rugby games, introducing myself, I do a lot of sports. So I started to create my own network. And incredibly and immediately, amazing doors opened up. I found here so many lovely people ready to support me in this journey. So I started to create my own friendships. The business starts to grow. What happened then? COVID came and destroyed the business. Yeah, it was a bit, I'm sorry for the investors because they lost a lot of money. And I was on the edge of making an important choice in my life. I was around my 40s. And I said to myself, shall I go back to Europe? Yes, having a very successful career, making really good money. But I always knew, even in my 30s, where it was really skyrocketing my career, that there has to be more in life, that only give our time to somebody else's dream. Yeah, getting paid quite well, but back then I was, as I mentioned before, I've been neglecting my health just in order to make money, in order to be the number one in what I was doing. And so I decided, and it took me a lot of courage to say, you know what? I stay in Malaysia. I'm sure I'm going to reinvent myself. And interesting enough, after a week that I decided to stay in Malaysia, I received a proposal from this French university, which I'm currently the head marketing manager in communication at that university. And shifting from still the marketing side of luxury fashion industry into education as being a big shift that required to me to study a lot, to put myself at times in an uncomfortable position. But I learned that our gold mine stands right outside the comfort zone. So another journey started. I loved the idea that I was courageous enough to make an important choice instead of going back to Europe, to something that I already knew, to embrace the unknown. And it's easy to say when just we say that, but once we really take action in the, when it's dark around you, but you just have a feeling, to go through the darkness, it was just incredible. And then now in 6 years in Malaysia, I'm very lucky to share with you that I have an incredible network. I'm surrounded by amazing human beings, and for me that means a lot. Really, the relationship I have. And in this journey, then, as we're gonna talk later, my passion, my call, is coaching and mentoring, especially men. Therefore, I founded now 2 years ago MyMasterMan, which is a platform where we do men's work. Men's work are all those activities related to men, mental health, physical, and emotional well-being. We do translate this men's work in community service. So we co-created 3 big communities, 2 in Kuala Lumpur, 1 in Penang, which is the second biggest city in Malaysia, up north. There are now there are 550 plus men joining the community. And my mission is creating spaces, tribes of men where we gather together from different walks of life, and we support one another in a super inclusive environment where there is no judgment. And we have the courage to do inner work, to respect other men's journey, and to support one another. And it is so powerful in a men's community, this kind of men's work, because men in general, and I guess you as a man know that very well, we do struggle to open up simply because there is so much conditioning, there is so much fear to be open, to be exposed to judgment of others, to show our weaknesses, which are not even weaknesses, but just to be open. And this journey has been skyrocketing, really, because through creating these communities, then I build up right now, as I was telling before, very powerful coaching program. My clients one-on-one usually are leaders, ambitious men. They've been doing very well financially, or they are doing very well financially, but they are struggling in many areas of their life, neglecting their own physicality, physical well-being. They might not able to open up with the wife or the kids, or to even receive love. And so they are really suffering, and in a discomfort. They are in a really uncomfortable position because they said, I achieved everything I want in life, but still something is missing, which is a bit the archetype of a man. We've been taught that to be validated, we need to make money, because our ancestors, they used to go gathering. So the strongest man of the tribe, the one that was able to hunt many animals, was the one getting the most beautiful woman in the tribe. That was the power, that was the authority back then. Right now, to have power and authority means having money. The point is, and I'm absolutely sure that's what I've been through in my life, we can make money, even a lot of money, but from a space of authority, of integrity, or having very defined values in life without selling our life, our soul, our family, just for the sake of making money. And in this journey, it's interesting, Adam, because doesn't matter if you're from the UK, from Italy, from Zimbabwe, from Malaysia, from Australia, we are all the same. We go through the hero journey. When we start to question ourselves, there is something that I need to address. Many men tend to numb themselves. Could be consuming alcohol, drugs, or overeating, over working out, over just working, in order to do not sit with the pain, with the discomfort, simply numbing ourselves. And we get to a stage, the so-called identity crisis, where we realize, oh my God, who am I? And it's interesting, Adam, because I was looking at some data. The identity crisis used to happen from the checked from the 70s, 1970s, up to 2010, 15, around 40, 45, 48 years of age, the 40s, mid 40s. Now it's happening 20, 25 years of age, sometimes 18. Why? In this society that preaches that men, they have to be superheroes in terms of providing, don't show emotions, or better said, the only emotion that is allowed to show is anger and frustration. Because, example, Adam, if a man frustrated walk around us, doesn't even get our attention because you will say, wow, of course, we're all there, all focused. But if you see a man crying on the street, immediately you look at it and say, wow, it's weird. A man is crying. Simply because we are so conditioned by the idea that men, they cannot express the emotion. It's called the regulation of the emotions. I'm not preaching that we need to cry and victimize ourselves, but the emotional regulation, it is fundamental in life for everything other. I'll invite you to think, the man that I got in front of me, you are a man, then you are an entrepreneur, you might be a husband, you might be a father, you might be a football player, you might be a painter. Before everything, we are men. And we forgive at times that little but so important detail. All the greatest emperors, talk about male in this case for the sake of this interview, artists, businessmen, there were men able to be so in touch with their emotions and able to acknowledge them, able to process them and deal with them, that even though one for Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and I not just say them, not even because I'm crazy about them, but they've been in their career losing millions of dollars. How many men, maybe you and me as well, would have killed ourselves, suicide, after having millions and you lose them? And then they recover and they start again a journey. When there is an emotional regulation, an understanding of our inner talk, why we perceive certain things, how we respond or react according to certain situations around us, it's fundamental to be successful in life, in any form of success maybe it means for you.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into that in a little bit more detail, but I was interested though about what you said about coming to Malaysia, having been living in Italy and other places. Would you say, for what you're doing, is Malaysia a decent place to run a business from? Because I think your clients are global, right? So would you say, is Malaysia a good place? Because people think about Thailand, they think about Singapore, obviously. Would you say Malaysia is a decent place for an entrepreneur like yourself to open a business in your line of work?
Okay, Adam, so you're talking about into the coaching niche or in general?
In general, but your experience in the coaching niche as well.
Oh, thanks for the question. Okay, well, compared to Europe, okay, if we see from a pure business standpoint, absolutely yes. Taxation wise, we talk about here about 22%. It depends on the turnover you have, but let's say on average, to open a company, at least compared to Italy, is way faster, very inexpensive. To have a staff as well, you can even outsource the staff. How I see it, okay, Malaysia itself is 33 million people, where the biggest community is Malay, Muslim, then you have Chinese, Indian. How I see it, I think it's a great place to be based, but to deal with Middle East, with Europe, with the US, with Australia. That's at least where I'm going. At least the clients on the one-on-one, which is a quite high price ticket, they are mainly from abroad. So I would say it depends, really. It depends what you're selling because, for example, when it comes to food and beverage, F&B, I know personally some Italians, some French, Spanish, English doing very well here with restaurants, with business. Because in here, locals, they do love going out eating. They really enjoy eating. So they go out and that's a beautiful thing actually with the family. So they explore a lot of places. When it comes to the coaching industry for what I do, which is very niche, men's coaching, I can see there is the need because a lot of guys are joining. But if I need to be brutally honest, I think in Malaysia yet it's happening, but the value that the people see on investing money in themselves, on a mentoring or some guidance or a coaching program, I won't say it's so organic and easy like could be in the UK, could be in the States, in Europe, Australia. if I hope.
Expats and locals, or is that mainly an issue with the locals, would you say?
Thanks for the question. I should have said that. No, expats, I see them more keen to invest money. Even when I do events, I created men's retreat. We go to the forest, 2 days, are the ones that they can very easily say, okay, I think this is a good thing for me. I pay whatever is needed to pay.
Sure. Now, many of your clients are expats and high net wealth individuals around the world. So many of these men are either currently very financially successful or previously they were, and maybe they had some kind of breakdown or some kind of issue. With these kind of men, what are the main issues you find with them? Is it more likely to be substance abuse, including alcohol and drugs and so on? Or is it more likely to be something more deeper and more emotional?
Amazing question. Okay, Adam. So it's a bit a mix of everything. I would say, in general, there is a lot of disconnection. Means disconnection within themselves. So they've been achieving financial freedom, but at the cost of completely neglecting themselves. And in order to keep up with the pace, they need some help. At times could be the girl outside the relationship just to validate themselves, maybe man middle age. At times could be the bottle of wine, or could be the pill or the line. Could be a lot of porn. Porn now is a big addiction because it's all about related to dopamine rush. All of the things that I just mentioned, they give you a dopamine rush. And once you have a dopamine rush, it fulfills that lack of self-confidence, but it's temporary. And so then become an addiction because we keep looking and seeking for that dopamine rush. I've seen men in a really dark place. I've seen men that they were doing okay in the relationship, but were not able to express, and the marriage was going not in a good direction with their wives, the love they have for them. Or men simply so drained by the business that when they were back home, they were present physically with the wife or the kids, but they were not mentally. And the kids especially, they were suffering for that. I've seen men divorcing, and they were so surprised because they say, Mauri, I spent my life to give the best education to my kids, to give all the gift to my wife, the best cars, the best everything. And then she left me because I was never home. So for men, it's very difficult to process that because again, it's like, the horses when they have on the eyes,
Tunnel vision.
Yeah, tunnel vision. We just think that we accomplish our mission once we provide. Once we provide financially, not emotionally, financially. And then out of the blue, it might happen that, the journey, it doesn't go the way we want. And we are so surprised, say, how comes? I was the nice guy. I never cheated my wife. I haven't been doing everything was good to do. But still, I found myself alone. I have no more friends. So I'm not saying that all the entrepreneurs and wealthy people are like that, but big majority, especially of men, they are. The point is, they are very good, or in general, men, we are very good on faking it, on having this kind of mask that does not want to show the truth, what is happening within. Consequently, we need to find, as we said before, some crutches, some alcohol and pills and things. So there's a lot of suffering. I call it silent suffering within the man community, especially the big achiever, because a big achiever, let's say a CEO of a company, how can you ask him to be vulnerable in a work environment? They're going to eat him alive. So there is a big thing going on now about vulnerability. I'm a big fan of a vulnerability for a man when it's done in a very safe place with other men that they are able to hold your space without judgment. But then there has to be an action plan. As men, they don't really need therapy. That's why I love coaching. Coaching is not therapy, it's mentoring. A man needs a proper vision, a clear vision and direction. And when he has it, an action plan. Because Adam, Mauri, Abdul, doesn't matter. We all have our little brave man within. You remember when we were a kid, I don't know, I wanted to be a policeman, I want to save the world, I want to go to the moon. But that little man is still within us. But through shame, guilt, self-judgment, fear, and traumas, that little kid that wants to conquer the world is trapped in an invisible jail. So through mentoring and coaching, men realize on how to peel, like an onion, peel out layer by layer by layer of this invisible jail. And when the brave man comes out again, you see men really literally transforming their life because they forgot how beautiful it is to be in touch with ourselves, to accept ourselves. And when I say accept, that means accepting even the demons and shadows, the darkness. And of course, that's easy. Our, strength, the light, our personality that is very bubbling. So self-love for a man, it's a topic that at times I perceive a lot of rejection. If I say self-care, a message goes through. If I say self-love, a man says, this thing is for a woman. But you see how conditioned they are? Something that I love to share with you, Adam, the work that I do with men is to support men on starting having self-care. Self-care organically generates self-love. Self-love organically generates self-discipline. Self-discipline generates success. Only when we start to understand and getting to know ourselves. I always share with the guys during our sessions, it's so beautiful to fall in love with the process of getting to know ourselves. As I said, once we start to get to know ourselves, we want to take care of ourselves because we start to process, to see ourselves with compassion. Consequently, we start to take care of ourselves, have a good sleep, eating properly, avoiding distractions, taking care of our body, eating properly, as I said, working out, good supplementation. Consequently, if I start to love myself and a friend, let's go out and get trash at the pub, I say, thank you, Mark, for the invitation. But you know what? Tomorrow I wake up at 6. I'm going to do my, breath work and then I go to the gym because I feel good. And when men experience discipline, self-discipline, and experience a structure with a good time management of their task, it's so really life-changing, transforming.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that. But what is also interesting, though, is obviously you deal with a lot of expats who are outside their home country, right? And you're talking about things like discipline, things like dopamine hits, and all these things. But having lived overseas myself now for about 14 years, obviously expat life comes with certain challenges as well as opportunity. Now, I imagine loneliness, for example, must be a massive thing in the expat community because you're outside your own country. And in some cases, the local language is maybe not something you've acquired to a high degree, although obviously in Malaysia, like Singapore, English is so well spoken, but you have clients around the world, maybe some of them are struggling to pick up the local language. So do you think with expats is even more of an issue sometimes, all of these like emotional challenges, so to speak?
Your question on point, yes. And I think we have something in common because recently I joined International, and from consul now I became an ambassador. And actually, that's what I've been trying to penetrate even the community. So back 2019, 20, okay, beside COVID, the expat community was much bigger in Malaysia. Many companies after COVID, they've been cutting up a lot of resources. Right now, the majority, at least in International KL, I would say Indian, Pakistani, some African, but I would say, mainly from the area of the world. And I tried as in International to start to, introduction concept of men's work, what is important. I had a couple of webinars on procrastination, how to overcome procrastination. I had 2 webinars and a physical event on Are you familiar with biohacking?
Not really, but we can get onto that, right? Yeah, for sure.
So biohacking are all those protocols that support you to perform in life in a 10x way. Means nutrition, how to improve your nutrition in order to improve your mitochondria, your powerhouse, your cells of powerhouse in your body, how to improve your sleep in order to have an amazing quality of sleep, how to improve your exercises, optimization of an environment in your life on the 5 pillars: nutrition, exercise, supplementation, and workout, to have the best life as possible. I turned 48 this year, and I've been working on this for the past 22 years. I've been having podcasts with doctors, been interviewing doctors, and it's no mass implementation. It's nothing, it's no surgery. It's simply, following protocols that allow you to have high energy in a natural way. And in the internation, I've been doing these kind of topics, but to be honest with you, so far, there was a very little engagement. While when I do through webinars, like open on Zoom, I have 20, 30 attendees at times, either physical or online. I created an event called Mastering Manhood, was super successful. 50 guys joined, very powerful, on how to be a leader, but through mastering manhood. So modulating your emotions, being a good listener, understanding, what other people are going through without being abusive in your behaviors. Talking about the workplace. I've seen now who's joining the expat community outside. I would say mainly are Australians, Europeans from all countries, US, Canadians. Those are the guys that usually are more sensitive and they really want to do the work, ready for the work.
Yeah, that's interesting, because obviously, I guess in certain countries, there's still, a cultural norm of not showing your emotions, right? Whereas in the US, you mentioned therapy and things like that. That's been a big thing there for a long time. Now, I know you mentioned coaching is not the same thing as therapy, but nevertheless, they've had a culture now for maybe a couple of decades where they have encouraged people to open up. And maybe Italy, to a certain extent, is it a bit more socially acceptable for men to be a bit more extroverted, let's say? That's not the same thing as emotional per se, but that's the stereotype people have outside, right, of the Mediterranean countries, not just Italy, but other countries in the Middle Eastern part of the Mediterranean, Spain, Portugal, Italy. Outsiders assume that you guys are kind of quite in tune with your emotions, right? But I'm not sure if it's completely accurate or not.
No, I think, Italian are famous for, the way of being explosive, and the regulation of an emotion is not to suppress them, as we are very good at, is being able to live them. So, example, what I've seen in all the work we've been doing so far, men, we avoid confrontation. Generally speaking, men, we avoid confrontations within ourselves and with others. That's why I call the syndrome of the Mr. Nice Guy. There is a beautiful book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, which I highly suggest to everybody. In my 30s, I was a big people pleaser, big time. And I had a mentor back then. And it was amazing because this guy took me in a journey of self-discovery and finally came out. I was insecure. I was saying yes to everything, yes to everyone, simply because I was so afraid to be rejected by a girl, by another brother, by a group of people, a community. So I was saying yes to everything. And when it comes to deal with the emotions, a big learning is to live it, to embrace it. Example, we all have moments in life that we experience anger. The first things we say, I am angry. So just the sake of saying I am, there is a kind of attachment with the emotion. First step is to say, hey, I feel angry. So we start to create a detachment from the emotion. It's very important that we do not suppress it. And I'm talking about men, whoever is listening to us, men, they know very well what I'm talking about. Instead of shuffle it down and do not acknowledge it, that anger will become stronger and stronger. But once we acknowledge where it's coming from and we question it, where are you coming from? Once we have an honest conversation with our emotion, it seems whoa, but you should try, you have to try. We start to which is the most important thing, is to detach from the emotion itself and understanding where is it coming from. Most of the time, when we pay attention and we do not engage with the emotion, we understand that that emotion, in this case, anger, was triggered by a situation that might be related that when we were kids. Maybe a person tell us stupid, and maybe it was the teacher when I was a kid, or my mother, or my father. So it's not the word itself that triggered the anger, but it's the trauma related to that word. But once I have awareness, when I was a kid, I felt embarrassed, I felt not enough, simply because I was a kid. I didn't know how to deal with it. But now I'm a grown man. So we dissolve the pattern with the awareness. One, we will keep living in autopilot without giving ourselves the opportunity to stop a second and go within and get to know ourselves. Nothing will change. Because I don't know you, Adam, personally, but I'm sure that you have your own patterns. And I'm sure that you say, Mauri, you know what? If I think about, I got the same things recurring that happen to me, as I do. Until the day that we stop and say, okay, why is this happening? Where is it coming from? And then we have the courage to go within and be okay and courageous enough to open doors that we might not like what we see or what we perceive. But the only way to let go of traumas, of limiting beliefs, of fears is to face them. And it requires courage. But it's like you are there, say, look, Adam, there is no way. You want to become a billionaire? Yes, of course, Mauri. The only way is to go through this passage. And there's no other ways. What would you do? You will go through. The point is, in life, nobody comes to tell us 100% if you go this way, you're going to make the money or whatever is success for you. But we have to understand that where there is the fear, there is an opportunity. Where there is a suffering, there is an opportunity. It's just trying to teach us something. We have an opportunity. Do you want to learn? Do you want to overcome it? Or you want to do, as always, maybe open a bottle of wine or check Netflix or scroll on social medias? It took me years. I'm not here to sell you a program or the blue pill. It took me years, and not always I manage, because still at times is to stay with the suffering and the pain is not easy. But it truly changed my life to not to run away, but to stay there until it dissolves. And when it dissolves, usually I always go one step further, one step further, one step further.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, what you were saying there, it goes very deep to like people's vulnerability. Now, I've been doing what I've been doing for enough time to actually know that when it comes to making hard decisions, most people aren't proactive. So when it comes to investing for retirement, for expats and the kind of things that we help with, most people are not so proactive when they're 23 to think I should start small because it's going to put me in good stead when I'm in my 50s or 60s or 70s. Most people wait and then they panic when they're like in their mid 40s, 50s, 60s. Now, I'm guessing, if I'm not mistaken with what you're doing, even though some people are proactive, I guess some people only come to you once they've hit rock bottom or they're close to rock bottom. Would that be accurate?
Um, hmm. Well, 10 clients, okay, out of 10 clients, I would say 80%, 75%, yes. Yes, that's true. Before starting here, if you remember, I told you that I had the podcast with Dr. Shashi, which is, I guess, comes even here to this podcast studio as well. It's an amazing guy, and he works with really high-end men in Malaysia. And he told me the same, Mauri, sorry, my English, my French, when I say when the blood test is so fucked up, then they start to take action. Because again, it's the same story. You see, I just push, 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 push until. But I don't know in your niche market, but I can see that the youngster, they start to move. Youngster, I mean, in my case, then I would like to know even about in your business. I'm talking about 20, 25. They start to reach out to me. Hey, Mauri, I've been following you for a while. You look like a legit guy. I like what you're doing. I would like to join the men's circle. They start to reach out and probably prevent the breakdown. I was wondering, in your niche, you have mainly like men in their 40s, 50s, or you go even like 20, 30, some, crypto guy makes a lot of money in crypto?
Well, we have a lot uh, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on and so forth. But I think what's unusual is for people who are quite young to reach out. Now, it's understandable in certain cases because financial brokerages sometimes can have minimums and sometimes it's not affordable. And as you say, I think it's getting better amongst younger generations. More younger people are thinking, well, even if I invest a small amount by myself, $10 a month, even $20 a month, I might not be able to afford an advisor, but I can at least get started, do the things I should be doing. And then later on, I can maybe consider getting the help of someone like myself and my team. But so it is getting better. But I think in general, as that retirement clock ticks and as people have experiences like they really don't like their jobs, for example, it really focuses the mind to think, right, I've got to prioritize this now. Last 5 years, last 10 years of my life, as a working life, I mean, I've got to put away as much as possible. So I do think as a deadline comes closer to retirement, people focus on it, right? It's all about priorities, I guess, isn't it? Whereas I guess the same thing could be said for your health and mental health as well, right? I guess if someone's struggling a little bit, getting those people to kind of prevent the problem is much harder than if someone unfortunately is closer to that cliff edge.
Adam, I really love your question. So I'm in a position now, and I say with goosebumps because what I do, I really love, and I do it from a space of love, really. I know that every man, will benefit so much to join a men's circle or even have a proper network of brothers. Because for men, it's important to have male friends. Of course, nourishing the wife, the girlfriend, always engage with women. But when it comes to a certain space of brutal, honest conversation between men, it's so powerful. And actually, our ancestors in the tribes, they were used to do that. They were gathering with the men and then being with their families. It's so important. So I can see in guys in their 30s that they are I believe they are very smart. They say, you know what? I like this. And I think, myself in my 40s will be very grateful of the choices that I made right now. Other ones, other guy, especially more my generation, they wait. But I believe it's a matter of time. Look, the work we've been doing so far in Malaysia was literally hours and hours and hours of content, written contents on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I told you I've been working with Shell Company, Fitness First, simply to destroy and dissolve the stigma around men's mental health. That it is okay to address that you have something to work on because you are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. There is just something that you need to address. And I firmly believe, that every man should have by default a kind of mentor or at least look for a mentor. I'm a big fan of Stoics. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Holiday, the writer. And if you see even Seneca, every big Stoic mentor, they always had other mentors. So it's part of a journey. The point is many men say, I know that. I don't need that. And then they keep repeating the same mistakes, ending up in addiction, every form of addiction. I made the mistake at the beginning that I knew that what I'm doing, it serves, it supports, but I learned something in this journey, Adam. Number one, that we are not here to save the life of anybody. You are here as Adam Fayed to honor your life. I am here to honor my life. But surely we're here to support one another. So when it comes to coaching or to guiding people, either paid or for free, if somebody is not ready to receive any form of guidance, I believe we do not have to force it, even though I was trying to force, hey, Adam, I know that I can help you. But maybe you say, you know what? I don't feel like it's okay. Because if we try to force and support people that they are not ready, it doesn't serve nothing. So at times, if I attach emotionally, it can be frustrating because I can see clearly that I can help that guy, that man, but if he is not ready to receive it, I'm not going to force it. So I have a question for you. When it comes to these gentlemen, 20, 30, 40, 50, that approach you in order to, have a better management, know that you guys are doing quite a good work on that. Do they ever open to you like, I just divorced maybe, I got some money, or my parents died, I just received £1 million, I really have no idea what to do. Can you help me or create a portfolio? I may invest abroad. So have it happened that some of them open up a bit, or always very...
It depends on the individual. I mean, and how long you've known them sometimes, and also the culture where they've come from, maybe the generation they've come from. But obviously, everyone's an individual. Some people are a bit more naturally open. It's certainly the case that obviously early on people kind of focus on, benefits, features, and things like that. But we do have to remember that when it comes to money, just like other things, there are emotional values as well as just pure financial. So, for example, I'll give you just one example. Sometimes people want to add a beneficiary to their account in case, God forbid, they were to die. So some providers, if it's regulated as an insurance company, they allow you to put a beneficiary more easily than companies that are, say, a bank, for example, where a will is required. Now, that's such a small detail to most people, but for some people, that's a massive thing, right? Because if you're a single mom or a single dad and, you've divorced or your wife or husband died, that emotional security of knowing that the money will go to your family, that means a lot to them. So I would say it depends on the individual, but those people who have had trauma are more likely to open up because ultimately it's more like, what do you want to achieve by investing your money, or protection for that matter, health insurance, life insurance, trusts, things like that. You're not doing it for the sake of it, right? You're doing it because you love somebody or you love something. And I think in investing and also wealth protection as well, it's because you love somebody or you love something. And I guess in a way, though, it's the same for what you do, right? Because even if they love themselves or they love their family, ultimately they're not doing it for the sake of it, right?
I love how you put it down. Beautifully said. And let me add, we all love watches, cars, money. But if you think why we love, I don't know, which car do you love? Let's say you're in a position to have $1 million US just to invest as liquidity in a car. Which car would you buy?
I'm not a big car guy, actually, but
A boat, a car.
I tell you, actually, for me, my answer would be a bit different. For me, because I know luxury cars are such a pain in the ass to actually upkeep, I would keep a car very modest. And a reason is, like, at least if a house, unless it's absolutely enormous, at least in places like Malaysia and many countries, you can get the, you can have a maid relatively cheaply, whatever. I'm not saying you can't do that with a car, but I think very expensive cars are just a pain in the ass to deal with. So I would just have like just a very modest car that does the job. But that's just a personal preference.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So why you love money?
I would say from my point of view, I love what it can do in terms of, I don't know if you played Monopoly when you were.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
And yeah, in Monopoly, there's a get out of jail card, right? Which doesn't literally mean, obviously, in life, right? But ultimately, money does give you, in certain cases, that get out of jail free card, which means, like, for example, let's say if, I want to upgrade, I can. Or if I, for example, let's say, I don't know, I'm just a little bit worried about something in my business, I can think, you know what, pay the accountant more money, pay the expert more money. So I would say peace of mind is a big thing. But as you say, money is only one aspect of the equation, because ultimately it can also give you more opportunities to focus on your health, your relationships. And I think the final thing is, somebody explained this, I forgot who it was, but he gave the analogy of a chair. Most chairs have 4 legs, right? And money, relationships, a sense of purpose, and your health are 4 key things in life, right? And if one of those legs breaks, then ultimately it can affect the other legs. So what I have seen as well, I don't know if you've seen this, whilst it's true to say that people who are too materialistic might end up becoming your client because they've made mistakes, on the other end of the spectrum, those people who don't focus on money at all, eventually they might have the same emotional problems, because they might think, as you said, men should actually, evolutionary, we're supposed to provide, right? And I've met so many clients and people who, when they can no longer provide and they've lost their job and they've lost money, if it's substantial, they actually have big mental health issues. So I guess balance is quite important. Would you say you agree with that, or do you think people shouldn't focus on money at all?
No. I was listening to you carefully, actually.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely. I was asking you because at times when it comes to men, if you ask in general, why you like big cars? At the end of it, it's not the cars itself. They are not the money. It's the security, the feeling of empowerment, the feeling that you can have access, the feeling that you're going to be free from stress of I can do and have whatever I want. So you see,
Status as well for some people.
status as well. So my point is this: it's not money, it's not the car, it's not the property, it's not the private jet. It's the feeling that that object gives you. So my question is, what if we still be ambitious? I love what you said. We have the purpose, we got the values, we got very clear the where we go, right? We don't know the how, but we know we're gonna get there. And that's so beautiful, so stoic. So that's mainly, say, I don't know how, but I'm gonna get there. And it's so beautiful because then eventually we get there. But once we realize that the possession itself just give us a feeling, then we understand, and I go back to the beginning of our conversation, it's all about regulating our emotion. What if I'm able to get that feeling already without giving my contentment out, my happiness, my peace of mind to something out external of me? What if I'm able to be content already, to be in peace with myself? And it requires a lot of work of self-love. Remember we said before? And then when we achieve the car that we always wanted, or maybe a property, or even the woman of your life, we are going to be in the position that we are so in tune with ourselves that we're going to manage those money in an amazing way. I guess, Adam, you have many, actually, in the UK, it's famous, 90% of the people that they won the lottery, the £1 billion lottery, they end up after 2 years broken again. You can guys check on Google very easy. Why? Simply because from zero, they found themselves to have so wealthy, but zero knowledge about how to manage money. But if you are a man or a woman in a position of being grounded, if tomorrow you win the lottery and you know how to regulate yourself, you know exactly, I will call, for example, your service, say, Adam, I need suggestions, I got a bunch of money, I need your help to, create a portfolio for me. At the end of the day, I firmly believe that there has to be done by default an immense work on ourselves. Because either life opens up opportunities and momentum that you are skyrocketing, you don't let yourself indulge in distraction. Or either you are in the darkest moment, you are still in an empowerment state of, okay, it's a difficult time. I know myself. I know that I was successful before. I made some choices. I need to review them. I forgive myself. I go back working. But I know that whatever happens, I'm in control. If I keep giving myself out, looking for validation on a woman just to feel validated because says, you're a good looking guy, or money, because if I don't have money, I'm not a man. I'm not good enough because I don't have yet a lot of money in my bank account. That generates a lot of pain in men. I don't know worldwide, but you can check in the UK and US, the first cause of male death is suicide.
Especially under 40, yeah.
Okay, so it's not guns, if you think US, maybe people getting, no, it's not even getting killed by guns, suicide, and mainly youngster. In Malaysia, in the past 5 years, government data, and I think very conservative, in the past 5 years, 4,441 people killed themselves, 3,600 men, between 16 to 24. And I'm telling you, Adam, 100% very conservative. Simply because we go back, men that do not have, doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or if you are a student with just pocket money to buy your food and then a lot of will of make it happen, we don't have space to be open. And that's why coming to place men's circles, men's communities, if you are in trouble, I always say to the guy, find your network. If you are alone, start having a journal You use that journal as your best friend. You don't show to anybody. You jot down all the darkness, all the struggles you have. You jot them down, and it helps massively. And once you start to release that pain, you start to be in a different position. You will see that you're going to have different interaction. And once you start to have your own little tribe, nourish it. It's so important. You married, right?
I am indeed, yeah.
Okay. So have you noticed that? Sorry, just for the sake of this, have you noticed that once we get married, we have parties, we tend to isolate a bit ourselves? No? Or are you good to have still a lot of friends?
Yes, you isolate yourself a bit, but I think another factor about this, and this is just me being open, considering we're in this situation, right? I think for me, my business, my life got so much better after I got engaged and got married, which is great, right? But then naturally, then it does mean that I'm not saying I'm a billionaire or anything, but when you do get more successful, you can get a little bit more guarded, which is a mistake, because obviously some people try to, take advantage of you. So, for example, on a daily basis, I get messages on my WhatsApp because it's all publicly available information. There's some people sending me links trying to scam me. I know that's just a very small percent of the human population, but I think subconsciously, I don't know what you think dealing with clients who have got, different net worths, but I think as people get older and also their net worth go higher, even though you've got enough experience to know that the vast majority of people out there are good human beings, actually, because you see a few more bad cases, sometimes subconsciously you can get a bit more closed and you can actually more appreciate like your childhood friends, your partner, your close friends, and then you don't have as much time to meet new people, right? So it's probably a very common issue that you face. But it was interesting what you said as well about people winning the lottery getting sometimes becoming broke, because also I think NFL players, about 70% of former American professional sports athletes go broke. But do you think part of it though is this obsession with status? Because I've noticed a lot of people who make a lot of money, if they're just investing in, say, stocks, bonds, ETFs, liquid financial instruments where you can see it on a computer screen, in a way, subconsciously, it doesn't feel as, let's say, good for status as buying a boat or buying a huge car. And so I think this could be part of it. I don't know if you've noticed that with some successful people you coach, that if it's an external thing that people can see and touch, like a car, a boat, a house, somehow they think it matters more than if you've got, I don't know, millions in the stock market. Have you noticed that?
Wow, I love the way you put it down. Yes. And the question is, did you ask yourself why? Very interesting, the NFL player. It's true. It's true, because why do you think there is the need of validated status? If you know that you are enough, right? Let's say even if you are $2 million in bank account, $3 million, you need to show off to others because you think that if you don't show off a big car, maybe a golden chain, big watch, or 3 million girls, you think these guys, they think they are not enough. Consequently, to get the validation, they want to show off. Rappers, American rappers, there's plenty of stories. They make millions, they lose everything in drugs, in girls, simply because I go to the same point. Once we get to know ourselves and we say we go through this process, I don't really need the validation from others. But it's not because it's not ego based or I'm better than others. No, I know that I'm a good man because I'm a loving man with my girlfriend. I have strict values of integrity, not cutting corners, respect my time, respect other times, and I really do things from a space of love, doing the best as I can. I might make mistakes, and if I do, I ask forgiveness. Not to hurt other people in my journey. At least that's what I'm trying to do. Of course, it might happen that I'm not perfect, but at least I pay so much attention on that if I do a mistake, then I'm able to ask forgiveness. I'm not really looking for validation for another person to say, hey, you're a good man, because I know that I'm a good man. And the beauty is to make very good money and be in the position, as we said, to have access to whatever we want, but from a space of empowerment, that I don't need to distract myself, numb myself because I got money, so I'm gonna, do crazy stuff. I just enjoy my money without the need of sharing with others, without the need to having a supercar, or to show off. But if I want to take my wife, my family into the Alps from KL 3 days, I'll do it, without problem. Yeah.
Absolutely. And final question, if people are interested globally in terms of reaching out to you and getting your help, what's the best way for them to contact you? Is it LinkedIn or email?
Yes, through LinkedIn. I might give you the link to.
It'll be in the bottom of the description.
So in this description, or I'm quite active on Instagram. And of course, I got a website. So will be amazing if you resonate. And thanks again for this opportunity. If you resonate on the work we are doing in Malaysia, if you're looking for guidance 101, you can reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you and see how we can work together.
Well, thanks for coming on today, Maurizio. It was a pleasure. And
thank you.
Everyone else, like, subscribe, and share. That's it for me on the Adam Fired Show for Expat Wealth, and see you next time.